In this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on the MacBook Air and how it performs versus a PC machine. This is only my experience with my equipment, so your mileage may vary. Does everyone need a MacBook Pro, or can you do most of your work on the MacBook Air? I'm a PC technician. I've been in the field for roughly 25, 30 years. So I have a lot of experience building machines, both Intel and AMD. I'm also a photographer and I do video as well. My foray into Apple began in 2007 when I picked up my first MacBook Pro. Back then, as I did photography work, I needed something that was powerful and had a great screen, and I forego the Apple operating system and install Windows on that machine. It wasn't until about a year later until I actually used the Apple OS. And once I started using it, I got hooked. Before we get further into the video, let me ask you to take a moment and click the button down there that says subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Your participation greatly helps me in growing the channel. I'm looking forward to hitting 100 subscribers before the month is out and hopefully hit 1,000 by the end of the year. Let's talk about the current generation of MacBooks. I have here today the MacBook M1 Air. It's a nice device. It's pretty sleek, pretty thin. As you can see, it tapers from the front to the back. It doesn't have a lot of ports on it, but it's sufficient. It does the work as something small that you can carry around. It's pretty light, pretty compact, and believe it or not, it's actually quite powerful. In saying it's powerful, how powerful is it? My main editing computer is a PC that I built utilizing the Threadripper 2950X. Recently, I tested this machine against it, and I was surprised at the performance for rendering video. The performance under the M1 chips have been shown to be quite excellent. For a machine this light that doesn't use a lot of power, it can compete with some desktop class machines, and that's saying a lot. I recently had an opportunity to do some edits again on my Threadripper machine because I was having some issues trying to set it up on the MacBook Air. My tests on the MacBook Air showed it to be pretty snappy with open applications and working on programs. However, I did run into a snag once I started to edit. My main editing software is DaVinci Resolve. While editing with DaVinci, the machine crashed a couple times. Most of us, we have multiple web browsers open with multiple tabs and other applications running in the background. The unit I had only had 8 GB of RAM and 512 GB hard disk drive space. When it crashed, it popped up a message saying that it ran out of resources. So I decided I'll finish up the video on the Ryzen machine. When it came time to render, it finished in about 9 minutes and 30 seconds, I say. I'll get the exact time and put it up on the screen. I wondered, how long would it take this MacBook Air to render that same 30-minute video? So I exported the timeline onto an external hard drive, plugged it in here. Speaking about the external hard drive, because this machine has such a small amount of space inside, I decided I would use an external drive to store all my videos and do all the work from it. We'll talk about that drive in a future video. The render completed in about 10 minutes and 32 seconds. That was about a minute longer than it took on a Threadripper machine. Now granted, the Threadripper machine is a couple years old, but that is pretty much considered a high-end desktop machine. To see this little machine do it in 1 minute less, no fans. This is pretty much like an iPad. There are no fans on the inside. That wowed me. If you do 1080p videos or 4K videos, this thing will get the job done. It sounds weird to say, but for the most part, it can. I will tell you this though, make sure you get 16 gigs of RAM inside of it, because it's a unified memory design, which means that the CPU and the GPU and all of the processors in the machine share the memory. I've noticed at times when I'm doing some editing that it will use some of the hard drive space, subfile space to work, because it runs out of 8 gigs pretty quickly. I was surprised that it was actually much better in scrubbing through the timeline than the Threadripper machine, and that it only took a minute longer to export a video. It may be a little bit more if your videos are longer, but still, this is a portable machine, something you carry around with you every day, not something you have plugged in the wall the entire time. To check and see how great the performance was, I borrowed my wife's machine. Now she has the base unit with a 7-core GPU and 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of hard drive. I imported a file on that machine and did the render while it was on battery power. Here's the surprising thing. It did it in 9 minutes and I think it was 18 seconds. Now that machine was booted fresh. It doesn't have a lot of application on it because she doesn't use it for a lot of things. But I did install DaVinci Resolve just so I could test it. Not the studio version, which is what I have on my MacBook Air and the Threadripper machine. I just did a regular version just to test it out. And it completed in actually a few seconds faster. That was kind of surprising, not sure why, but it did it. That being said, I'm a bit sold on this, but I still want something a bit more powerful. If you're looking to pick up a MacBook Air, Apple usually has discounts on the machines right around Thanksgiving. You can save some money by going to the refurbished store and picking up one. It's maybe $100, $200, depends on which spec you get. The cool thing about the refurbished store is that you get the same warranty as you would get from buying the machine brand new in the store or online and shipping to yourself. Best Buy, Amazon also have deals on these machines. And I'll tell you what, I highly recommend this as a machine that you should get if you're looking for one. If you have kids going to college, why not? It makes a great machine. The cool thing about this is it's not plastic, it's aluminum. These machines are gonna last. Most people keep their Macs for quite a few years, and later on, you can trade them in on a newer Mac. So who's the MacBook Air for? People who want something light and easy to pack and travel with. It's powerful enough to do video editing, photo editing, and get you through your day. Battery life. Yes, that's the one thing that I did forget to mention. The battery life on this thing is actually pretty darn good. The screen is not the brightest, but most of us aren't using it outside, coffee shops, at home, school, work. So the size of the screen is actually decent to work with. I prefer bigger screen myself, but working on this and browsing the web on it, I haven't been at a loss to say, hey, there's nothing I can do with this machine, because it actually gets everything done that I need to get done. So the MacBook Air M1 has turned out to be a pretty good contender when it comes to laptop. It beats most PCs on the market as well as most laptops. It has one of the best battery life around, and the performance on it is pretty good for 4K videos. Remember, if you do more intensive 4K video work, you'll probably want to pick up the version with the 16 gigabytes of RAM. Next time, I'll have another video on the MacBook Pro, as I do have one on order and it should be coming in pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.